If you've ever played a skating sim before, you'll notice the issue right away is that you can't just explain these inputs to a friend who isn't familiar with skating games already.
I play so many skating
fighting
games,
figured
and
out a way to symbolize their motions
I
while
don't
also
think
letting
it's
players
that bad.
freely notate them to mix and match various inputs
Yo,
as the
driver.
games evolved. This is where notation itself actually becomes really important. Being able to say quarter circle back, or even a
2, 3,
concept
6.
more abstract like tiger knee, which
Ah.
looks like this, is a lot easier for me to explain in actual video game terms than asking a player to pull off a hard flip in Skate or real
Pull off
life.
a-
Having a notation system.
Well, if you played a skating game and you know what a hard, I mean, I guess this is kind of unfair too, because like I played so many skating games. I know what a hard flip is.
Hey YouTube, glad you've been enjoying all the videos I upload every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So be sure to hit that subscribe button as well as like and share the video.
Specifics and transfer those ideas across multiple games is an invaluable tool for making these games teachable among players.
Input for this move. Why is it called that? Well, the idea is, we start down here and down back,
Okay.
and then we move the stick over and we do a half circle back. Okay, so a half circle back like that, and then we take it and we
That's
go
the pretzel
down
motion.
forward.
Yeah, that's a
And
pretzel
it looks
motion.
like that. And I
It's a
feel
pretzel.
like, okay, it might take some imagination, but this is
That's the
this is
pretzel
basically
motion.
a pretzel, right?
Yeah, come on. That's first grade, SpongeBob. That's the pretzel motion. Everyone knows that. That's
So,
first
yeah,
grade.
That's the idea. That's why it's called a pretzel motion.
Comparing these two genres opened my eyes to how good we actually have it when it comes to fighting games and the language that's developed around them over the years. There's hundreds of terms that pack so much meaning within them, but they can also mean almost nothing to a new player listening in. But even with that strength, a new weakness pops up when it's time to
What moves
actually
require
write.
pretzel motions? Terry's level 2, you could do the pretzel motion for, but I think in Street Fighter 6 they didn't want that because the pretzel motion is hard. But in every other SNK game, you could actually do pretzel motion. That's how you're supposed to do the move. SNK has some jank inputs that you actually have to do. Even Street Fighter 4 had some pretzels, right? What's my favorite motion? 2, 3, 6.
Street Fighter 6 kicked off this generational leap into the 2020s and had a gigantic prize pool for Capcom Cup that attracted pretty much every type of fighting game player there was. Anime players, 3D players, SNK fans, and of course Street Fighter players all grouped up and started sharing tech and ideas around the game. When that happened, it seemed like nobody could really agree on how to describe certain things.
I
about
still
the game.
think the right way to describe everything is numpad. I am a
Players who
numpad
use classic
enjoyer.
Street Fighter notation
Forward
started
heavy.
clashing
Forward
with people
heavy
who
sounds
used
kinda
more
stupid.
global
You just say 6
numpad
HP.
notation, until eventually they kind
Two
of settled
MP.
on a mix of the two as an overall community. If you
4,
don't
6,
know,
2, 8.
numpad
Not charging
notation
plane.
refers to each direction you might find on a compass rose
4,
with
2,
all
2.
the positions correlating to a number on your keyboard numpad. Using the examples from before
2,
for
2 enjoyer.
context, a quarter circle forward would consist of the inputs down, down forward, and forward being pressed in smooth succession. In numpad terms, that would simply be 2, 3, 6. Thirdly, numpad notation is just much easier to read and write overall. When command normals get involved, Street Fighter notation leaves a lot of room for
This
confusion.
keyboard is dusty.
For example,
I'm charged.
what's the difference between these two? One of them is a crouch normal, and the other one is close, as in
Close medium.
proximity based. This isn't a problem as much anymore, considering proximity normals haven't been in
Well,
Street Fighter.
actually,
This isn't a
if you
problem.
wanted to do this, the CMP would be lowercase. If you want to do close slash, you would always say C capital I. But if you're talking about crouch medium punch, the C would be lowercase. So actually, there is a way to change the two.
And the other one is close,
Actually.
as in proximity based. This isn't a problem as much anymore, considering
Standing
proximity
close.
normals haven't been in Street Fighter since 4, but games like King of Fighters and Fatal Fury still use them. Or, as another example, how would you notate a charge move? In numpad, it's notated with
Exactly.
brackets around one number, indicating to charge, and then the direction that you press at the end, all in a neat little package. Numpad notation would actually solve a lot of issues I have with skating sims, but it also highlights to me that the problem isn't very prominent in these games at all. Don't get me wrong, there's a few issues like with moves called pressure flips in sessions specifically.
Pressure.
The way they're performed would be well explained by numpad, but the game fails to explain them in any meaningful way, which I think is what leads to the confusion. Excluding that, there doesn't seem to be much that these players can't work their way around, and the game's
This is
focus more on
also going
precision
back
and
to
rehearsal
people just being
than
stupid.
actual decisions under
It's not
immense
that
pressure.
difficult. Oh, I don't want to
Which
say
is
it's not
what I
that
would say
difficult to
fighting games
understand.
actually
But
focus on instead.
this is such a, like, if you put in like the most minimal effort, people just being lazy. Yeah, this is like very minimal effort thing. Like, it's not that hard to understand. If you took like 2 minutes, you would get it. You know what's funny, chat? So in the 1v1 me, they asked us to wear the Drive Tech outfits so people could tell what character is which. And I'm like, brother, just look at the screen. And they're like, nah, a lot of the stakers can't tell which character is which. If it's color coded, they might be able to understand it better. And I'm like, brother, there's no way. Like, that to me is like, it's first grade. You can't be that lazy. Like, even like looking at a keyboard, to me, it's like, it's not that hard. Like, I get some things are very complicated and you know, you don't got time for all that. But some stuff is like, brother, if it takes like 2 minutes to understand. 2 minutes too long. But yeah, to me, there's like certain stuff where it's like, yo, just like, don't be so lazy. Like, fighting games are hard. I don't think fighting games is the easiest genre, but some stuff in fighting games is so simple and it takes like 2 seconds to understand.
Writing the combo in standard notation would just lead to a nondescript list of Behemoth Typhoon that don't tell you what to actually do. In abbreviated notation,
You
there's
asked me
only
to
so
think.
many ways to write half circle. After the standard 2, you can't really describe them without writing a full sentence. For example, this BT would be written as half circle back going up. That is way too long of a notation.
Half circle
Numpad
back going
saves
up.
us that time,
Yeah.
allowing us to notate it as a
Numpad notations for
684
nerds.
BT, representing the 3 cardinal directions necessary for the move to come out. This input is almost the exact same input for a pop shove it, and yet one is considered by many to be unnecessarily difficult, while the other is representative of the most fundamental flip trick in skating. How does
Well,
something like
that's
this
also
even
just a bit
happen?
different because pop shove it is kind of like learning how to do it at Dukin. Learning a Go Lewis Behemoth Typhoon is weird. But to me, if you're trying to learn a pop shove it, the fighting game equivalent would be learning how to throw it at Dukin or a 2-3-6. Like that to me is like the first grade stuff.
The main question I had in making this video was, why don't people complain about motion inputs in skating sims,
The game's single player.
but do complain about them in fighting games? The biggest reason seems to be that skating sims take their language from reality instead of forcing
Reality.
the player to learn abstract concepts tied to the game itself. Even the more arcade-like skating games like Skate work this way.
Tony Hawk.
Having that basis means a quick transfer of concepts to gameplay where players don't take issue with harder tricks having harder inputs. The relation is directly correlated. Fighting games, however, are full-on abstraction, with motions having some ties to the special behind them, but that isn't always the case.
What is this? What is 6H? What the hell is 6H? 6H is forward heavy? Think of a number pad. How about you think of the light of the Lord and bask in it and then talk like a normal person?
This concept does fortunately go both ways, though.
How about you
For
think of
someone
the
who's
light?
never played 2xKO, but has played DBFZ, suddenly that 2H concept can click in their head without having to explain all the special properties of them, like being anti or invulnerable and jump cancelable. The language behind fighting games is transferable in the same way that the skills
Yeah,
you learn it.
if you play a fighting game, you know the language. If you know numpad, if you do it like quarter circle forward, maybe not the language is always going to be transferable, but like 6P the jump, you know, 5Ds and overhead. You want to block this 2MK in a drive rush or 2MK in a 2-2 or whatever it might be. If you're in the fighting game space, everyone gets you. No one's gonna go against you. Like it's just how the game is. But if you don't play fighting games, you're not gonna get it.
And them are. In my time playing all of these skate sims, I noticed that yeah, a few things are transferable.
Even when Tokon comes out tomorrow, I'm sure people are just going to say it in numpad notation. It's easy to understand. And if you're in the fighting game space, it's very easy to get.